Hi, welcome. This is Maria Mandarino, and I want to thank you for being here with me today when we talk about Enneagram Type 7. I am a spiritual director and certified Enneagram professional, also a licensed acupuncturist and somatic body worker. Today, as I said, we're going to look at the Enneagram Type 7, the Epicure, one of the names for them. They're located in the head center. But before we begin, please like the video. Remember to subscribe so you'll receive notifications. Click that little bell on the subscribe tab for notifications to get updates as to when there are new videos coming up or when there are any special programs that I'll be offering. If you would, please comment on the video if anything resonates with your type, if you lead with Type 7 or have a Type 7 in your life. And I'm also available for private sessions for spiritual direction or for Enneagram typing interviews. So feel free to reach out for information about that. And I will also have the links in the show notes at the end. So Enneagram Type 7, known as the Epicure, the person that likes to experience all things, interesting and exciting and fun types of things. They're also known as the enthusiast and the spontaneous person. Again, they're located in the head center. And the Type 7 seeks out pleasurable experiences. That's really what their focus is on. Focus is also on fun, as I mentioned before, enjoyment. They love possibilities. They tend to have very creative ideas, inspiring ideas, and they like to stay in the superior position in relationships and situations, work situations, because that gives them influence over the possibilities that they can have, and it kind of guarantees the activities that will go on. So they like to be in control of those things, to know that they'll be fun and interesting and exciting. So some of the higher expressions of Enneagram Type 7, they are the optimists in the Enneagram. They are upbeat. They are positive. They're adventurous and exciting. They are creative, as I mentioned. They're very encouraging people to know. They'll see not only the possibilities around them, but the possibilities in you. And they're really good at encouraging you to bring them out in a very positive way. Type 7s will raise the energy in any room. You can usually pick them out in a crowd, in a classroom, a classmate. You'll know the Type 7s because they definitely raise and elevate the energy. They will reframe negatives into positives. They're great people to have on a team because of that. So if there's a disappointment that goes on in an activity, they'll be able to reframe and redirect things to reach a positive goal. They are the out-of-the-box thinkers on the Enneagram. They love to make the impossible possible. And that way they can look a little bit like Type 3s, but they're different. Their goals are different. Their motivation is different. Type 7s, when they commit, which we're going to talk about further, but when they commit, a healthy Type 7 has the ultimate expression of presence. So if you get a commitment out of a Type 7, be honored, and know that that Type 7 is working from the highest level of type. And also in the higher expressions, Type 7 is just in awe of life. Because they're looking for the possibilities, they're looking for the potential, and they see it, and they just, they're just amazed by it. They're just in awe of what's around them. So the lower expressions of Type 7, these are the ones we tend to become more aware of if we have a 7 in our life, because it's the behaviors can be pretty glaring. And it can be difficult to be around a 7 that's not coming from the higher expressions of their type. So gluttony can be one of the behaviors in Type 7, particularly around anything that's pleasurable. They have a more is better kind of an approach to life, to pleasure. So if something feels good, tastes good, looks good, more's got to be better, right? Because it's good. So we want more. Type 7 gets easily bored. They can be chaotic in their lower expression. They can be unreliable. They can be unfocused, and they kind of have an ADHD kind of energy. They can kind of be all over the place. I call them the leaf hoppers. It's kind of hard to pin them down and get them to focus. In their lower expression, if something is uncomfortable, they're gone. They're not going to stick around for anything that's uncomfortable. And we'll talk about why in a moment. They can be regarded as shallow for their behavior. If you are going through a painful experience and you have a 7 in your life and they're not in their higher state, expect them to not be there for you when you go through your painful experience, because they don't do discomfort. They do pleasure. But someone who's coming from the lower expression of type, they don't do pain. They don't do their pain, and they definitely won't do your pain. An unhealthy 7 is not good at commitments, and it gets back to if it's uncomfortable or if it's boring to them or it's not exciting, they're not going to stick around. So they don't like to commit, because what if it's not fun? So they're not real good at commitments if they are in an unhealthy state. Unhealthy 7s are focused on the next thing, the next opportunity, which lends to that ADHD kind of energy. So they're always looking for the next best things, which means they're not here. They're just, because they're out there. They're looking for where's the escape route going to be? Where am I going to go? That's fun. That feels good. And they tend to not behave in a way that is present to their circumstances. In looking around for options, always being open to options, looking for options, they have this don't fence me in kind of energy. They can actually become a little difficult if they feel fenced in. Ideally, they'll just take off. But if they can't leave, they can become difficult to be around. And they can be regarded as rude because of that in their lower expressions. So some behaviors to consider in an unhealthy 7. So if you think you may lead with 7, or again, you have somebody in your life who you think leads with 7, these are some things you want to kind of be aware of. Type 7s will have lots of books. None of them will be read. And that has to do with possibilities. If they have the books, well, there's the potential for one day I'll read them all. So lots of books, but none of them are read, where they're just kind of stacking up, and every week they get a new order from Amazon, but they're not actually reading any of the information. And that gets back to their distraction, their ADHD kind of energy. Another behavior of unhealthy 7s, if they construe you as limiting them, if you make them feel limited, not consciously, but if they feel limited by you, they'll ghost you. They won't even tell you they're not coming to your party. They just won't show up. Unhealthy 7s are said to have an up and out energy, so up and out of their body. So that means they're not very grounded when they're unhealthy. I personally view that as like a horse that's penned in a gate, in a corral, that just needs to break the gate and just goes right over it, and they're gone. It's all that energy, that the horse has to run, right? So type 7 in an unhealthy state, they need to be up and out. So I just use that as a visualization of the unhealthy 7, just as a horse just needing to break the gate and jumps over. A type 7 that's unhealthy will make your struggles seem insignificant. And that's because they can't stick around for pain. That's the one thing in unhealthy 7, it gets back to that. They're seeking pleasure, they're seeking opportunities, they're seeking options because they don't want to do pain. So they'll look for all of those activities. So if you're going through something painful, they're going to kind of brush off your struggles because that's pain, that's uncomfortable. I only do fun. So if you're having a hard time, and you've got a 7, an unhealthy 7 around you, that's where they're coming from. They're just not going to stick around for the pain. And the other thing they can do is they will have, and this gets back to the gluttony, which is the lower expression of type. They can have this over the top expression, excessive behaviors, often that can look like addictions. Again, it's just that idea of this feels good, more must be better. Okay. So some healthy behaviors of type 7, because again, we have the high and the lower expression of all the types, right? And it's not that as we grow in the Enneagram, it's not that we don't have the unhealthy expressions, because we're not perfect. If we're on the planet, we're certainly not done. We're all still learning. But the Enneagram puts a light on what you're doing when you know your type. So when you start to see or feel or experience these, the lower expressions, then you have the ability to convert them into the higher expression. Awareness. Without awareness, you can't make those changes. You can't make those adaptations. So these are the healthier expressions that if you see those lower expressions happening, you can convert your energy into a more positive expression. And here's what some of them would look like. Being great at connecting with people. 7s are, they're just great at connecting and forming friendships, and they are not shy. Okay. So they're really good at connecting people, connecting with people, and then also connecting you to other people. So they're really good networkers, and not in the superficial way of networking when they're healthy. It's because they're so present to you and you need something and they maybe don't know how to do it, but they know someone who does, and they'll put you in touch with that person, and they'll create webs of connection between people who the 7 believes need to know each other because they can help each other out. So they are natural networkers in that regard. Healthy 7s also make phenomenal guidance counselors because again, they're looking for potential, they're looking for opportunity. They're seeing all the potential around them, but they're also seeing the potential in you. So if you're fortunate enough to be coached in any way by a 7 or supported by a 7, they are, they're the guidance counselors on the Enneagram. They're the cheerleaders. They're the ones that will, when you feel like you can't run an extra mile, they'll be there showing you how you can, making you believe that you can, because they know your potential. So you've got all that support from them. They tend to be multi-talented. Again, we talked about them being creative. 7s tend to be Renaissance people. They tend to be good at multiple things because they have so many interests. They're very productive people. They get things done. They like to be active. So they don't let grass grow under their feet. And they're also versatile in the higher expression. They can do many things, and they can shift back and forth easily and be productive and not lose energy to that versatility. So the one thing I like to talk about in the series that I'm doing is look at the thing that each type fears more than death. And for type 7, that's being limited. And the reason they don't like being limited is they do not want to feel pain. They do not want to face pain. They don't want to face anything uncomfortable. They don't do discomfort. So if they perceive that they're being limited by a situation, by a person, that is as terrifying as not being able to breathe anymore. Because if they're stuck and they can't get out and something painful comes up, they got to do pain. And oh no, think of that horse just needing to jump over the gate. They can do anything but pain. It's literally as terrifying as death to them. So sevens, because they are associated with fun, for an example, if they are faced with an awkward situation, all eyes are on them, and they want to get out of the situation because they're starting to feel fenced in, limited, and like, oops, everybody's looking at me because they just did something really dumb. And then what they'll do is do something incredibly silly to amplify the attention, make it fun, making the horrible thing that maybe just happened fun or funny. And they kind of will put on a vaudeville act of sorts, to, ramp up the laughter from the crowd, and have it and convert it into something funny, to avoid the painful thing that maybe would involve being spoken to, being disciplined. So instead they kind of make it into a funny event, so everybody gets to laugh, and nobody will come at them with punishment or something that feels limiting or unpleasant. So the somatic experience and practices for type 7, because they have that up and out energy in their body, that they just kind of want to rise up and take off. They live in the upper part of the body. They live in the head, neck, shoulders. And not a lot of energy goes to their core. And certainly doesn't come down to their feet, because they are their focus is on escape, pretty much. So with the sevens, we want to bring the energy in and downward, and that's something we talk about in the Enneagram anyway, just to kind of get everybody to anchor their energy and bring it back into the earth. But for 7, because they are so up and out by nature, we really want to bring them in and down to the ground, to their feet, connecting their feet to the ground. And we want to get them to channel their energy back into the core of their body. So a lot of their energy will be, as I said, the head, neck, and shoulders, will be in the extremities too, the hands and the feet. And the core is being bypassed. So getting them to direct their energy back into their core, and to get more of a moderate flow, balanced flow of energy throughout their body, not just in the extremities, not just in the upper. Getting type 7s to drop their shoulders is important. So I always tell them up, back, and down, and to kind of put more space between your ears and your shoulders. Okay. Quieting the mind, because the type 7 mind is always on possibilities and options, right? So quieting the mind, centering, and just being still is really a good practice for type 7. So kidney 1, I'm an acupuncturist. So kidney 1 is a point on the bottom of the feet. It's called bubbling springs. It's right at pretty much at the ball of the foot. So sending the energy into kidney 1, standing on the ground outside, barefoot, is a really good practice. Earthing is a really great practice for type 7s especially, and feeling that energetic supply from the earth, and remembering that we are on the earth, that there is a thing called gravity, to anchor the 7's energy and let the 7 feel supported by the earth, so that they don't feel that need to run and escape, to just be present and still and supported, knowing that they're safe, being present and still, and connecting at kidney 1 on the bottom of the feet. Another practice with meditation, perhaps, is repeating the mantra, I am here. Because most of the time 7 is anywhere but here. So breathing and repeating the mantra silently or aloud, I am here. And just staying with the body, by which I mean all of the body, not just the upper parts or the extremities that want to move forward, to leave, to do things, to be active, whatever range of behaviors might be coming up, depending on the health of the 7, right? So stillness. Some tips if you have a type 7 in your life. One is to find ways, loving ways to slow them down. Modeling behavior is always a good thing, so you can model it, but also just encouraging them. I love you. Let's just slow down a little bit. Breathe. Just reminding the 7 to breathe, because a lot of times they don't. They're living in their head type, right? So it's the first head type we're going to be covering in the series. The other tip is understand that when type 7 seeks to escape, this isn't a judgment against you. It's a deep fear of facing pain. It's again, limitations, the one thing they fear more than death, because the thing that they don't want to face is pain. So understanding that their escape really comes from a fear of having to face pain. So that gives you a little bit of perspective, a little bit of compassion with the type 7 in your life. And then the other piece of that is to let them know that no matter what that pain is, you're going to be there with them in it. They're not going to be alone in it. They won't die. And you are with them. That can be a healing experience for a type 7, and then be there for the pain with them. But slowing them down, just getting them to slow the pace, so that the body and the mind can realign, because usually the body and the mind are not firing at the same rate for the unhealthy 7. And then if you yourself lead with type 7, learn to meditate. I think all the types should learn meditation, but of all of them, type 7 probably would benefit the most, or up there with benefiting the most from it. And then create a mantra to focus your mind. So one part of the mantra on the inhale and then the other on the exhale. So an example of this would be inhale, I am here. Exhale, I am at peace. Inhale, I am here. Exhale, I am at peace. Okay, so that's a good practice to be with. So to sum up the positives and the negatives of type 7, the Epicure, in their negative expression, we can't rely on them. They may appear superficial and disinterested. They may appear easily distracted. And again, this is because they're looking for their options. They're always scanning the room for the escape sign. And so they're looking for escape routes in life as well when they are uncomfortable or in their lower expression. In their more positive expression, they are the fun bringers. They're the ones that loosen the rest of us up. They remind us that it's not always, all work out there, all hard work. There's a time for fun. So a healthy 7 can do that. They're usually the people that will bring the games to the party. They are the optimistic people on the Enneagram. They are the ones that embrace possibilities for themselves and for others. And they are highly creative Renaissance people. So that's all that we have for today on Enneagram Type 7. If you lead with 7 or know someone who does, who might be interested in participating in an interview, I think the interviews tend to bring some life to the information that I share here with you, because of course I can't share from the perspective of all 9 types, because I only lead with one of them. So when we do the interviews, it's really insightful because we see the Enneagram come alive, we see it breathe. And that's kind of my goal with this. So if you are a 7, if you lead with 7, please reach out. Please think about doing an interview for the channel. If you haven't already, please like the video. Please share it, and remember to subscribe so you get notifications. If you would like to schedule a session with me, you can do that through my website, mariamandarino.com. I'll put that link in the show notes. And again, I'm available for spiritual direction, for Enneagram typing work. Spiritual direction can be done with the Enneagram or without it. Most of the people I work with usually do want to use the Enneagram. And I also do some, we look at the parallels between the astrological chart, if the client is open to that. And we see where the overlap is between the astrology and the Enneagram. They're both pattern-based systems. To me, patterns are beyond our experience as humans on the planet. To me, patterns are an expression of the divine. It's the language of the divine. So there are eternal truths and overlap between the Enneagram and astrology and other systems. I also work with 5 elements as an acupuncturist, so it's another archetypal system, basically. So if you're interested in doing that kind of work with me, I am available to do that online. So please reach out. Again, I'm always looking for volunteers for interviews. So if you're a 7 or any of the other types that I've discussed and you'd like to be featured on the show, let me know. Next episode, we will be looking at, next episode in the series is going to be a couple of interviews first. But next episode in the series is going to be type 5, which is also in the head center. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon.